Emphysema and cystic fibrosis patients who need new lungs are faced with a life-threatening problem. More than 80% of donated lungs can't be used. They're inflamed and barely functional. But a new approach, detailed this week in the new journal Science Translational Medicine, describes a novel gene therapy that can repair these damaged lungs and make them available for transplant. Researchers first developed a system for preserving the lungs. They put the organs in a glass chamber and kept them functioning and at human body temperature. This technique proved better than freezing. Then they inserted into the lungs a gene called IL-10. The gene plays a key role in inhibiting the immune response. About 6 hours after injection, the cells start producing proteins that combat the damaging inflammation. The presence of the IL-10 gene may also lower the chances that the recipient of the lung will reject the transplanted organ. After the gene therapy, treated lungs showed improved blood flow and were significantly better at taking in oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide. The technique could double the number of lungs available for transplant, truly making patients breathe easier.
Harold Kroto won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1996 for the discovery of Buckminster fullerene, the soccer ball-shaped form of carbon, better known as buckyballs. On June 28th, he spoke to students about science as a philosophical construct.
I'm going to talk about what science is because it's a totally misunderstood sort of subject. There are aspects of science which are important. And of course, we know the body of knowledge that you learn at school, all right? The applications of those knowledge, technology, the only thing that journalists ever ask, in general, 99% of the time. Perhaps most important is the way that we discover new knowledge. But for me, the most important, by far, is that it's the only philosophical construct we have to determine truth with any degree of reliability. I want you to think about that. Because then it becomes a much bigger subject.
Did you hoist a few on New Year's? Of course, getting together with friends over a few adult beverages has a long history. Here's the University of Cincinnati's Kathleen Lynch on the Ancient Greek Symposium.
And the symposium is an all-male drinking event. It's a time where a small group of men get together, usually at the home of a friend, and the focus is on drinking. And so they may have had some food earlier, but the focus is on drinking together. And the drinking together forms bonds.
On January 7th, Lynch lectures at the meeting of the Archaeological Institute of America on the types of cups used at symposia over the centuries and how they give us clues to what was going on in Greece at particular times. As for the symposium, it had a couple of definite rules. First, participants reclined and arranged themselves in a circle or square. There was thus no obvious head of the table, and everyone involved had an equal status. Second, everyone drank together in rounds, so everyone got drunk at about the same rate. This communal and equitable inebriation led to a common loss of inhibitions and the building of, well, a fraternity.
Scientists discover new species all the time, on the order of 15,000 a year. One of the latest additions to the Tree of Life is a new type of leopard frog, which might sound unremarkable, except for where it was found. New York City. But how's a frog go unnoticed in the Big Apple? Well, even experts have a hard time telling this new species from its northern and southern cousins, on looks alone. But the new guy has a different croak, which raised ecologists' suspicions. So they tracked down 4 leopard frog populations with the unique call, including one within view of the Statue of Liberty, and took DNA samples. As they suspected, the odd croakers weren't southern or northern leopard frogs, or even a mix. They had a genetic ancestry of their own, earning them new species status. Those results appear in the journal Molecular Phylogenetics and Evolution. The frogs are tough New Yorkers. The center of their range appears to be Yankee Stadium, but the researchers say the urban amphibians face threats like pesticides and infectious diseases, not to mention real-life games of Frogger.
Modern humans are masters of multitasking. We eat while driving, watch TV while studying,
and when Dr. Evil gets...
and of course talk on our cell phones while doing, well, everything. How do we do it? A study in the July 16th issue of Neuron suggests that though we can train our brains to work faster as we juggle, we never actually manage to do more than one thing at a time. Our brains aren't really built to handle the sort of parallel processing we think we're capable of. The good news is, studies have shown that extensive training can make us better at doing two things at once. But how? One theory is that with lots of practice, some routines become automatic. And if we don't need to run every little thing past the part of the brain that spends time thinking about stuff, we can multitask just fine. But this new study finds that that's not the way it works. Turns out that multitaskers still consult the prefrontal cortex, but training gets the thinking brain to think a little faster. So we're actually switching tasks quickly enough to appear to be doing them simultaneously, which is still nothing to shake a stick and sneeze at. Daydreaming. Is there anything more pleasant than sitting back and letting your thoughts drift? Well, yes, not letting your thoughts drift, for one, because according to a study published in the journal Science, people are least happy when their minds wander. Humans, to a degree unmatched by other animals, are capable of thinking about things outside the here and now, something that happened yesterday, or something they hope will happen tomorrow. It's that sort of itinerant intellect that allows us to plan and to learn. But at what cost? Psychologists at Harvard used an iPhone app to find out. At random times throughout the day, the program asked some 2,200 participants what they were doing, what they were thinking about, and how they felt. Turns out that people spend nearly half their waking hours thinking about something other than what they're doing, and that whether and where their thoughts tend to stray is a better predictor of their feelings than what they're actually up to. The scientists conclude that a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So try to focus on, and live in, the present. You might discover that happiness is just being where it's happening.
Medicinal tablets are nothing new. Doctors have been dispensing pills for thousands of years. And now, archaeologists have turned up some of those ancient medicines, which were preserved in a shipwreck for close to 2 millennia. The 2nd century Pozzino wreck was discovered in 1974 off the coast of Italy. Its cargo included medical equipment, like a cupping vessel, iron probe, and tin boxes of supplies. And in one of those boxes, researchers recovered 5 gray tablets. Now, they've analyzed the antique medication. The work is in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The pills primarily contain zinc compounds, probably the active medicinal ingredients, but researchers also detected starch, pollen, charcoal, fats, and linen fibers. Those fibers help the tablets hold their round, loaf-like shape, which may be the key to the medication's use. The Greek word meaning small round loaves also inspired the word collyrium, or eye wash. The pills were probably either dissolved in liquid or ground into a powder and used to treat eye conditions. Who knows? Maybe Hippocrates used them on his pupils.
That grinning, glowing, globular invader of your living room is an inhabitant of the pumpkin patch, and if your doorbell rings and nobody's there, that was no Martian. It's Halloween.
That's how Orson Welles ended his Mercury Theater version of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds on October 30th, 1938. The broadcast was designed to sound like live news coverage of an invasion of Earth by Martians, and a lot of people fell for it. Now there's some more Martian misinformation fooling folks. This one's not so scary. A lot of people are getting email claiming that in the next few weeks, the planet Mars will get close enough to the Earth so that it will appear to be about the same size as the moon. Our friends at Sky and Telescope magazine report that email dating back to 2003 mentioned that in a 75 times magnifying telescope, Mars would look about as big as the moon does to the naked eye. Somewhere along the line, the telescope part got lost. So don't worry, Mars, even at its closest, is still small and safely far away.
It's Halloween.
The Meridiana Planum region of Mars once had water that was really salty and highly acidic, conditions incredibly hostile to any life forms that we know about. So any organisms that might have once lived in that area on Mars would really have had to beat the odds. But why do we know so much about the likelihood of a particular environment to support life? Mars scientists can thank you and me and our propensity to eat. Harvard professor of Earth and Planetary Sciences Andrew Knoll spoke to reporters Friday at the AAAS meeting.
The food preservation industry depends highly on people knowing the kind of ionic tolerances of microorganisms. So this isn't some esoteric thing that a Mars scientist will pull the paper off the shelf. There are thousands of papers out there on the tolerances of microorganisms, and it's not because most scientists are worried about Meridiana Planum, it's because they're worried about botulism in canned vegetables.
So one science feeds another.
In vitro fertilization efforts can be helped by, oddly enough, oral contraceptives. That's the finding from Tel Aviv University, site of the largest study on using birth control to help IVF. One of the challenges to IVF is timing. Current hormone treatments to stimulate ovulation have to coincide with a particular moment in the woman's cycle. Not knowing the exact timing for scheduling the egg retrieval and fertilization can be stressful, which can lower the odds of success. In the Tel Aviv study, researchers looked at women who underwent a 12 to 17-day treatment of oral contraception. The women were checked to make sure there was absolutely no activity in their ovaries or uterus. Then they began stimulation hormones to start the clock. Women who went through this protocol had similar numbers of pregnancies to a control group that didn't use birth control, which means that oral contraception didn't harm their ability to conceive. The researchers say this treatment demands a slightly longer cycle and higher levels of ovulation-inducing hormones, but they also say it could allow couples to more accurately plan for procedures which might give couples more peace of mind.